What secret did you find out about someone that permanently changed the way you looked at them? I just found out yesterday that my wife, 29, a teacher, started an affair with a student, 18, of hers about 2 months ago. We have been together for 10 years and married for 4. We have a 4-month-old daughter and she threw it all away: career, marriage, and family. I had no idea anything was wrong until 6 days ago when I found her crying in bed and she told me she was depressed, no longer in love with me, and suicidal, mostly because of my drinking habits. I took sole responsibility, swore off drinking, and had us signed up for marriage counseling the same day, plus got her in contact with a postpartum depression group. 6 days later, she is sent to a crisis center by her school, and I find out everything after the psychiatrist there makes her tell me the truth when I show up to bring her home. My life is so dark right now that I can't even sleep, and I'm holding a 4-month-old baby trying not to cry while her cheating mother is 5 miles away in a hospital room. Safe to say I will never see my wife the same way again. My wife's bestie confided in us that, while short of money, was moonlighting as a professional dominatrix. Until then we had thought that she was super vanilla. Sibling set of cousins, my 3rd cousins. 2 sisters and a brother. The youngest sister, she is 31 this year, this happened in about 2009ish, was dating a mixed race guy, one parent black, the other white. I didn't realize how racist the family was. They told her to leave him immediately, and when they found out she not only hadn't left him, but was also now having sex with him, her siblings beat her up while their father watched, and they forced her onto a plane to the EU the next day, black eye and all. Had her personal documents seized by her sister and was basically a prisoner to her. I found out about a year later about this when our other cousin told me. I can never look at anyone in that family again the same way, and it's so sad because as a kid I was very fond of them. The older sister had a coffee shop which my dad used to take us to a lot, and I think that's where he met my stepmom. I am not sure if this is a secret now since my mom knows and I didn't tell her. Though at the time my cousin asked me to keep it quiet because it was top secret and very sensitive information. I don't know if any of the family know that I know about this as well. If any of them ever read this, you guys suck. Had a work friend back in the day. His wife was really mean to him. She always would tell me his kids hate him, even though they would run to the door excited when their daddy was home. And when she was really mad at him, she would flip out and say that he ducked his sister and ducked a pig. He would just ignore her and not say anything back. Now I just ignored it because she would always try and make him look bad when she was mad at him. Well, one night we were drinking and he was pretty drunk. His wife got mad and did it again, but this time the heated exchange went like this. You ducked your sister and you ducked a pig once. Long pause. You know what? Duck you. That shit happened like 3 years ago. You need to just drop it and move on. I don't deserve to have it rubbed in my face all the time. Then I realized why she held such resentment towards him and I noped the duck out of there and never talked to them again. I feel so bad for their kids. It was a really dysfunctional situation for them. Luckily I heard they aren't together anymore. Huh. That is not how I thought the story was going to end. There is an engineering professional at my workplace that likes to wear pricey articles of clothing. He even sports a Breitling wristwatch, priced from $3,000 to over $17,000, as his work timepiece. Turns out that he and his wife are buried beneath a mountain of credit card debt, and while I do not look down my nose at him, I definitely view his attire and accessories differently knowing that fact. Damn, I felt like I was splurging when I bought my $150 watch. I had a seemingly innocent friend who normally kept to herself about her issues. Then one day she told us that she couldn't tell if she had a sore throat because she was sick, or because she swallowed too much cum the other night. That was the only thing I associated her name with afterwards. When I got to uni at 18, I ran into a girl I was in school with when we were 11 or 12. We caught up regularly, and one day she told me, very nonchalantly, about how the previous night, she had engaged in sexual acts with a car full of guys in exchange for weed. I was a bit stunned, mainly because it's so easy to find weed in that town. Who do I have to duck to get some bud around here? Bloomin' even over there. Thank you. There was this one girl I'd known for a long time but wasn't massively close to, who we all thought was being terribly controlled by her boyfriend. She would tell us that he decided when you was allowed to drink, when she was allowed to go out, what she was allowed to do, etc. And that he hid things around the house, and that he had started to impose bedtimes for her and shout at her over what seemed like extremely minor things. We all thought he was awful and encouraged her to leave. Then she moved in with me and I realized she was extremely emotionally unstable and an alcoholic. Within months, I found myself wanting to do, or in some cases actually doing, all the things she said her controlling boyfriend had done. I remember one time after trying to remain patient with her for a while, she said one thing that was relatively minor and it was the last straw. I just snapped and screamed at her. I then got phone calls from all our mutual friends to talk about my behavior and anger management, presumably as a result of the story being told back to them in a somewhat biased way. So, in a way, her secret changed my opinion of him. In my early days as a lawyer, I represented a sweet old widower with Parkinson's disease, who was being sued by a local store for groceries his late wife had purchased on credit without ever paying for. I felt awful for him. And then, shortly before trial, I found out he'd done jail time for molesting children. That roller coaster was intense. A family member's ex-wife of several years, whom I was still close with, asked me never to leave my daughter alone with my relative. She said that the reason they never had kids was that he confided when incredibly drunk that he had uncontrollable desires towards really young girls. He was upset and told her he felt he was evil and deserved to die. She asked him if he ever did anything, and he said no and asked her to forgive him, and asked God to make him better. Again, he was like blackout intoxicated. This was surprising information. She didn't tell me in spite, and actually still loves him very much. I haven't heard or seen evidence of grooming, or any extra attention paid to any of the female children in my family. He could have just been really drunk and out of his mind, but there is zero way I'm going to leave my daughter alone with him or let her out of my sight at family functions. I don't have evidence that what she said was true, so I can't really do anything with the information other than be diligent. Here's a positive one. My wife, a defense attorney, has a work colleague who is the biggest asshole you will ever meet. A blowhard who revels in winning at any cost and brags about the snarky things he does to really twist the knife. He's known as a sharp legal mind, but I get the sense that he likes to try to screw weaker ADAs or other counselors and loves it when he catches them in some technicality. He makes all those stereotypes about lawyers seem valid. My church had a sort of Habitat for Humanity-esque service weekend, where we were rehabbing an old warehouse into a new space as a temporary women's shelter for battered women. The offices were already up, but the individual rooms needed to be refloored, the bathrooms retiled, sheetrock needed to be hung and primed. To my surprise, I saw the asshole there with a tool belt helping to install a sink. Long story short, he donates his legal services to that one shelter, helping to set up restraining orders, divorces, custody, etc. for abused women trying to get away from their abusive partner/family. At first, I wondered if this was some sort of court-ordered community service. It wouldn't surprise me if he had done something to deserve it and then pissed off a judge somewhere. But no, the coordinator for the shelter who was working with my church says that he had been doing that for the past few years. Apparently his wife's previous husband was an abuser and he has a real heart for people in that situation. Edit. I don't know if that's really a secret, but my wife didn't know about it and didn't believe me when I told her. He obviously doesn't brag about it, which is something I thought he would totally do. TLDR, asshole attorney actually has a heart. My boyfriend years ago told me he was abused as a kid by his gay uncle, his actual uncle's partner, yet saw him as usual because he didn't want it to affect the family, and I had to be nice. A few months after he told me, he got drunk and in an argument with his dad yells it so everyone could hear. We broke up not long after. Last I heard, his dad was looking for blood, and the ex-uncle was in jail. My GF was abused by some of her family members, but she refuses to say anything about it, as it will destroy the family. I hate going to her family's social events because I then meet the people who abused and I have to be nice to them, even though I want to strangle the duck out of them. I don't know how my GF does it as well. There was a woman whom I considered my friend for many years. She had cancer, survived it, but it was still there and created many problems. She even appeared on TV shows as an advocate for cancer patients, did a lot of political activism, was very much opposed to euthanasia, published some books. Then one fine day, through a series of coincidences, it turned out that her cancer had never existed. She had completely made it up. A big fat whopping lie. I would feel ashamed because I fell for it for so long, except that a lot of other people fell for it too, including professionals, doctors, nurses, priests. Needless to say, it ended that friendship. And it made me think a lot about how easily fooled we all are. Oh, by the way, she has died by now. Of cancer. I'm not kidding. Not the cancer she had made up, of course. Karma can be such a bitch. There was a story about a guy being a serial date rapist, as in, he often went out to clubs/bars/ etc. Drugged girls and raped them. As it turned out, one of my friend knew the rapist, and also knew that he'd been doing it for at least 2 years. He also blamed a few girls for it. Made me a bit repulsed by that friend, to be honest. Found out my best friend tried to rape a girl once and bragged about it to everyone but me. Also found out he held a knife to one of his ex's throats. There are many more things, but finding this out after a 10+ year friendship, I ended it abruptly. I had a guy in my D&D gaming group with a smockin' red-headed girlfriend. All of us thought the redhead was gorgeous but, you know, guy code. Until it was revealed that the slightly annoying but tolerated power gamer of the group made it clear that he thought he was next in line to date the redhead if guy number 1 left the picture. Utterly destroyed our gaming group. Redhead thought it was hilarious in a Rslash/sad cringe kind of way and hurt his feelings, and I personally, as the dungeon master, was aghast that a human being's mind could operate that way. Like, dude, she's not a friggin' carnival prize. I couldn't stand to play or even speak to him anymore, but it was pretty clear he wasn't coming back anyway. Good riddance. Wait, so what did your friend's girlfriend say to him? And what was his reaction? It all came out at a party, in a chat about relationships. She just simply laughed at him and said she'd never get together with him regardless of how things turned out with her and the so. His reaction was simply to swallow his pride for the rest of the night, but the consequence was immediate. We never gamed with him again after the party. My best friend's brother-in-law kept getting sore throats for months. His normally soft-spoken mother, fed up by this time, screamed at him in front of a full house. What do you expect if you keep eating that dirty pussy? Later that day, I found out that both he and his GF were dirtballs. He showered about once a month and she would only wash her face, hands, and feet. They are both very attractive, educated, athletic, church-going people, and all I can think of is a pussy is so rotten it's contagious, and this mother ducker catches it with his mouth. As a kid I used to spend a lot of time playing computer games with my neighbor. One day I caught him pressing the caps lock key each time he wanted to capitalize a letter. Told him the shift key did the same job, which led him to a 15-minute tirade about how the caps lock button was better. We've drifted apart since. I have a guy friend who has always been quite popular with the ladies, despite being quite an average looking guy. We lost touch for a few years, but within 24 hours of reconnecting again he told me that he secretly meets guys on gay dating apps, hires male trans escorts and absolutely loves cross-dressing. Now the only time we ever really speak is when he wants my opinion on some lingerie or toys. Had a friend who hung out with 2 friends who were girls, and he was male. All went well according to him, but the girls told me he said it's getting hot, and proceeded to take off his shirt and masturbate and finish into a cup. Got all sweaty, then just left. Couldn't look this man in the eye ever again and cut off all contact. The local park homeless alcoholic was once a professor of ancient history and ed languages, and could speak and write in languages many of us would never even see. He used to teach at Trinity College until he was convicted for his wife's death. How she died or if he did it is a mystery to me. But one person I've spoken to reckons it was an accident, and another says they don't think he did it. Made me see the reality that no matter who you are, you could end up in a personal hell. Had an ex. He was one of those, I'm so gentle and kind you woo I love pastel colors and flower crowns you woo types, who went on to date a friend of mine. This friend goes on to tell me they broke up because he admitted to getting ill with his dog on multiple occasions, and asked if my friend wanted to watch him jack off that dog on Skype call. I was like, shit dude, I just broke up with him because he was ducking annoying.